should you be maxing them out or should you not be? And that's a question that I get asked a lot, frankly, when working with people around their 401k plans. The question they ask me is whether or not they should be maxing it out, just doing what the company matches them. What should they do? And frankly, it's going to be different for every single person out there. So I can't give you watching this video an answer, but I can go through some options you have and why you might choose each option within there. Now, the first thing when looking at a 401k, the greatest thing about it is you get the match. So should people do the match? I think absolutely. I think it's a no-brainer. You're basically, in some cases, you're doubling your money. You're earning 50% on your money off the bat without any market return. For those who don't know, if you put 6% in, the company matches you 50% of the first 6% you do. They match you 3% automatically. So technically, you're doing 6% of your own money with 3% of the company's money going into your plan. Now, that schedule does vest. So if you only plan on being in your company for a year, might not matter so much to you. If you know you're going to be there for a couple of years, then the vesting period typically is 2 or 3 years for a 401k. So you'll see that money still if you stay there for a little while. That's the big thing there. So when I look at 401ks, the match is definitely very important. Once you get to that match, though, and you start thinking, hey, I got some extra money, I want to save it somewhere, there are other areas you can put your money into outside the 401k. Now, let's talk about the pros of putting money in the 401k. For one, you get tax benefits. So every dollar you put in there, you're getting a pre-tax benefit. So if you're making really good money today, you're making 200-300 grand a year, and you're in that higher tax bracket, it might be worthy to max out the 401k, right? Now, if you're making 100 grand a year and you're in a lower tax bracket, it might not be worth it, right? Because we're only saving around 20% to closer to 12% if you're married on that 401k side, depending on how much you're putting in there. So that's an important piece, right? The tax savings. Second part is the money does grow tax deferred, meaning you can change your investments in the 401k and not get taxed on those gains you had. Meaning you can change from one mutual fund to another and not pay taxes on that change. So as your money is deferred out, all gains, all taxes are deferred out until you take them out later on. And when you take them out, the pro here is if you make good money today and you plan on living on less money when you retire, so you're going from making 200 grand a year and you think you might spend 60 or 70K a year when you're in retirement, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do a 401k plan. You're going to be a much lower tax bracket than you are today. That's the pro of the 401k. So if you ask me who should max out their 401k, someone's going to be at their company till they're 65. They're going to pay off their mortgage. They're going to lower their expenses. They're not going to spend a ton of money in their retirement, probably less than what they're making today. And for what it's worth, aren't doing any other savvy investments on the side. They don't want to do real estate. They don't want to be buying a business or being more active in anything else. They just want to put money in their 401k, let it grow, and retire later on. That's great if you want to max out the 401k. Now, the other side to it, right? So the cons, your 401k money is all pre-tax. So when you put your money in there, right, and it grows throughout time there, and you take all that money out later on, you pay taxes on everything. Now, 401k, Social Security, both get taxed. So that's what you're living off of. You're paying a lot of taxes throughout your retirement there. That would be nice not to pay. Frankly, I mean, it's not the greatest thing you have to pay a bunch of taxes. You save it up front, but not later on. So instead of just maxing out your 401k, you might want to do a tax-free investment. You might want to invest in a Roth, right? There's specialties on life insurance you could do where you could put money in there and it grows tax-free, right? Those are two areas you can put your money into where now you have a tax-free investment that you can use to help offset your taxes in retirement. So typically you get your match in the 401k, right? You could do the Roth portion of your 401k if you have one, or you can do outside a Roth IRA if you make low enough money, I should say. You're not above that, like 210 if you're married. If you make over 210, you can't do a Roth IRA. So there's different options that we have there when it comes to this. And there's my cat in the background there. Now, when it comes down to when looking at options around, outside the 401k, the Roth, SDLI, and also a brokerage account. You're diversifying your taxes. I talk about this in the first episode of my podcast, where we go over a little bit on how, hey, tax planning matters, and doing maxing out your 401k isn't a great tax plan, right? Unless you fit in that model I talked about earlier. So if you're somebody that thinks, hey, I probably going to spend a decent amount of money in my retirement. I plan on spending, over $100,000 a year in my retirement. You probably need to save in some tax-free items to help reduce your tax liability throughout your retirement there. And you might want to access some money earlier. So if you're an investor and you like to be able to maybe go buy a property, you want to maybe buy a business, you want to retire early, like at 50 or 55 and start your own thing. Well, in order to do that, you can't have all your money in the 401k. It becomes tough. Now, there's ways to access your 401k to do those things. And I'll have some videos explaining on how to do that. So there's a way out, but it makes it a lot easier if you do save into a tax-free manner or a brokerage account where now you have access to those funds without penalty or taxes before you're the age of 60. A lot of unique stuff in there. So ultimately, should you max out your 401k? The answer is yes and no. I think the match is what you should definitely do. And whether or not you max it or not depends on what your goals are later on. So if you're, again, to recap, if you're the kind of person to spend less money in your retirement, yeah, max out your 401k, do it up. If you're someone that's going to spend more in your retirement, you might not want to max out your 401k. You might want to rather put that towards a Roth or an SDLI, some kind of tax-free product, or as a brokerage account. And if you do that, that might suit you better, being you're spending more money in your retirement there. Hopefully that's helpful. Quick little video today on that. Wanted to recap, 401k. Get that question a lot, frankly, on whether or not you should max it out. Hopefully this is helpful to go over this. I'm going to have more videos on my channel going forward. I've been a little silent the last 2 months, so look for more videos. Got a podcast started up. First episode dropped yesterday, so please give it a listen if you haven't, and watch out for more content coming out to you. Thanks.